We'll call the meeting of Public Works to anything to change in the agenda? Nope. Call for motion to accept the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda is printed.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carried. Public input. Okay, wastewater treatment plan updates, Mr. Ben.
Good afternoon. So in your packet, I have the CMAR, which is a compliance maintenance annual report that we have to submit to the DNR every year. Does anybody have any questions on the report card or the graphs that I threw in there? Okay, so what we need is a resolution from the council to say that basically the city will provide the funds needed to keep the treatment plant running at the best we can. So you'll have to approve this, and then the council will have to basically pass this resolution in 2 weeks.
All right, we need a motion.
So move.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the resolution.
Was that yours?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you. And then I met with Jason from Utilities to see how much the phosphates are going to be added to the water for the lead. It's going to cost us roughly $25,000 annually to basically get rid of the phosphorus that they're adding. So I will be adding that to the 2022 budget, just to make sure that we can get rid of what they're putting in. And then last Monday, we met, all the contractors met for the digester on what's going to be needed to be done. So they're going to continue sandblasting, and then they have to trowel on this polymer type concrete throughout the whole inside of the digester. So that's going to take a while. I'm anticipating maybe late July, we'll get that digester back online. Again, this is no cost to the city. This is all warranty work on the contractor's end. Does anybody have any other questions for me?
Said utilities, talking about getting rid of the phosphate. Is that a one-time
Oh, no, so
yearly?
the $25,000. Yeah, that's what I have to add to the budget for the current cost of what ferric chloride is costing us to get rid of the stuff that they're going to be adding to the water.
Okay.
Because that stuff's just going to go into the pipes, sequester iron and coat the lead, and the residual, which he's thinking is 1.4 milligrams per liter, is going to come to the treatment plant. So at 600,000 gallons a day of 1.4, that's how I figured out this cost right now. And I can't guarantee that next year the ferric chloride isn't going to go up in price.
Right now, you're saying that's a yearly cost.
Yeah. So that, because right now I have a budget of $80,000 for ferric chloride for phosphorus removal. And we're a little bit below that, but as the DNR keeps changing our permit levels, it's gonna go a lot higher. All right. Any other questions?
I had a dumb question on the graphs earlier that you
Mhm.
mentioned. The OM performance indicators, a PFR peaking factor ratio,
Mhm.
where the trend line, the peak monthly trend line is like kind of since 2012, it's clearly above the the trend line, is that because we've had like 6 years of high water?
So that has a lot to do with it. So that's why we have to really look into getting rid of the I that's coming into the system, or clear water, if you will. Yeah, that's the majority of it. And then we did have, like in 2017, that's when we had the sewer force main from lift station 2 broke, so that factors into it. And then there was a broken pipe up by Smith and Quincy, I believe, so those two factored into it. Otherwise, we haven't had many breaks, but we're actually starting to see breaks now because we're doing a lot more televising than we did in the past. So especially once we go through some of these older sections of the city, we're gonna see some stuff that, oh boy, we didn't know that was there, and then we'll fix it right away. But when we fix it, we have to report it to the DNR that we found it and fixed it.
Yeah.
So that's what's counting into this, along with the high flows.
That'll bring down our cost too.
Yes.
Because the
Yeah.
I cost us a lot of
Yeah,
money, and
yeah, because I mean, when the flows go up to 4 million, we have to pay for that and electrical costs and everything, but we're not seeing it at our flow or at the flow meters. So, yeah, all unaccounted for.
thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. The next I see is consider an ordinance to add a stop sign on Nassau and Henry Street.
I'll take that one. And then April, we're at Board of Public Works. That's right now. We'll go into Parks and Rec in a little bit, so just hang tight. Didn't want you to be all of a sudden, I'm in the wrong meeting or anything like that. April's on the Parks and Rec committee, so we'll just transition to that. In your packet, you'll have a proposed ordinance to add some stop signs. As you might recall, a couple of years ago, we determined we had, I think it was like 76 intersections in town that were uncontrolled. So at that time, we decided that we wanted to start making an attempt to slowly change those to controlled intersections with stop signs. So we've been budgeting another 10 stop signs a year. So we've got another 5 on the docket right here. And these are the ones that we're proposing. Typically, the ones we're proposing are the ones either near a school or the ones that we've had comments on that people want to see stop signs at. So that's why they've kind of made it on the list right now. So we're looking at several on Nassau, Nassau at Law, Nassau Millard, Nassau Cameron, Nassau Roland, and Nassau and Laura Street. And also over by Henry Street, up by the Northwood Villages Mobile Home Park. The manager over there has requested a stop sign before you get into the mobile home park, and they are going to finance that one. They're going to pay us for that one. So we throw that one on there as well. So you have in your packet an ordinance to add new stop signs at these locations. The reason why it's an ordinance is so that the police department can enforce it. Otherwise, they would not be able to write a citation if someone would blow through a stop sign. So this would go to council then.
Just put all them on Lawrence or on Lawrence Street last year.
Yep, we did a bunch in Lawrence last year. Yep.
Chad is, it's a people in my district asked for one on Roland and Smith. It's where Roland goes, a little hill.
Sounds right. Yep.
So in the winter, you can't see cross traffic. I don't know if that's on your list or not, but
We've probably got it identified as a uncontrolled intersection. It's just a
it
matter
is
of
uncontrolled.
maybe
yeah.
next year we'll add those in next,
Okay,
for that.
very good.
But I know that some of these were the ones that we've had comments on from the public. So
Okay, good.
you said Roland and Smith, correct?
Yeah.
Are we looking for a motion on this?
Yes, you would
Okay.
refer to this to council for approval.
Also, on that last recommend, the wastewater thing, I think we had a motion. I don't think we got a second on it.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Dave did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
And that's going to go, the resolution would go to council as well. So, but back to the ordinance for the stop signs, we'll need that to go to council.
Call for motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Motion made and seconded to take to council to add the stop signs. All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Next item is approve a contract to hire PSI for geotechnical services for the 2024-2025 downtown street reconstruction projects.
If you read my memo, you probably picked up that on our behalf, our engineer at McMahon Services sent out some RFPs, request for proposals for geotechnical services. This is basically soil borings that we're going to do in the streets. These are some engineering type things that we need to have done just for making sure that the road, new design for the road is engineered properly. These are just hoops we got to jump through with the DOT. So McMahon on our behalf sent out requests to 3 different firms. We only got 2 back, one from PSI and the other one from, I can't remember the other one, E something. ECS Midwest LLC. So there was 2 proposals there, and if you read in my packet, PSI has a lower cost of $4,525. ECS had the second cost at $6,200. The soil borings from PSI are slightly deeper at 15 foot compared to ECS. Their proposal was at 12 foot each. So McMahon recommended using PSI, which I think the city has used PSI in the past for different projects. So we've got no issues with them at this point in time. So what I'm asking the board is to consider to recommend to council an agreement to hire PSI for soil borings for the 2024, 2025 road projects.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Well, one question I have on that, Chad, when I read through some of that, we said we have blacktop. Wasn't Pearl Street and North Water at one time cement?
I believe there's concrete underneath there. Luke,
Yeah.
can you confirm there's concrete underneath, like North Water Street? Underneath the asphalt? Yep, there's concrete underneath there. I think they went over the top with asphalt.
Yeah, because when I read that, I read as if we only had blacktop, and I didn't know if we have to notify them. I don't want to get started and then all of a sudden them come back and say, hey, you have concrete here.
Yep.
I hope they realize that they might find.
I will confirm with McMahon that they know that their equipment should be able to go, their equipment goes through that stuff, so. But I'll confirm with McMahon that they know that.
Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
all right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next item I see is consider a request to designate a loading zone in front of the business at 310 North Water Street.
This was a request by Billy last month, so I guess I'll kind of leave it up to you.
I would like to request a loading zone in front of the west door, 2 of the parking spots from like 7 to 8 a.m. where there would be no parking, so that he can get the van in there to load. Otherwise, there's people parked there all night and he has a hard time loading.
Is that temporary or every day?
Monday through Friday.
You're gonna have to do that to every business on Main Street. Because if you do it for one, you gotta do it for all.
Thought I'd give it a whirl.
I agree with Bernie. If we start doing it for one, then I think you're gonna have more than one jumping on board on this.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why in the morning from 7 to 8, The bar is not open and neither is the salon on either side of us.
I know that you guys granted Earl of Waters parking spot in that back parking lot recently, didn't you? For daytime parking, 2-hour parking,
There's.
it's like 2 months back.
Something back there, not recently. We changed several of the parking stalls in the back to be 2-hour parking.
By Patty's and by
Patty's Hair Fair.
Patty's.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the southern stalls in that lot, we've either made it 2-hour or 4-hour parking. I have to look back and look. But that was to get the turnover more for everyone in that area.
That was because the people in the apartments were parking in those spots 24 hours.
Yeah, that's a big problem downtown is the people parking for more than 2 hours. The whole downtown's supposed to be 2 hours. And I know there's a new officer, something hired to be enforcing it this summer.
Well, there's no parking in front of your shop. Is there? Is that
Right.
Got the
that
crosswalk.
crosswalk and then there's a yellow curb there?
We just run into
That's because of the
problems
crosswalk.
getting a roll of carpet out sometimes because if there's a car parked right there, we don't have the right angle
Mhm.
to get it out.
Yeah, it's not like loading cases of beer into a tavern.
That's just like a sign and cones you'd bring out, set up for an hour and then take down.
Well, no, because I'm not gonna go every day and put out a cone at me, because there's already people parking there. If it was posted, then people maybe wouldn't park there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to find another building. Because of the setup down there, it's just, we can't do it in the back. It's just too tight.
They've always done it.
Carpet
that
would
way.
end up in the river.
They've always done it in the front, even a long time ago.
Yeah,
They were in business an awful long time.
yeah. Gordy actually had an off-site warehouse where
Oh,
he
that's
had
right. That's right.
carpet delivered. Which would make it a lot easier, but because there's only that single door. And it's right against the wall, you have to have the right angle or, you're out of luck. We can, just something to think about. Hopefully we get out of there. But if we do have to stay there, I would really like to consider it.
Yes, being a next door neighbor to there for 15 or better years, I have seen the truck have to. The downtown parking situation is, yes, it's always a problem, but it's those people that leave their vehicles and thank God they're not driving home drunk. But it's year round. It's not just summer. But I've seen the carpet truck, the whatever truck, the semis have to park in the lane of traffic in the morning, and then they got to work these rolls of carpet around those cars. And I've even walked over there and said, just push that car out of the way and stuff. But it's from 7 to 8 AM. I don't really have a problem with, I don't think it's an exception. But yeah,
More or less for the overnight parking.
But that's an entire downtown problem, and it's either we enforce the law we have and we tow the damn cars away, or we, but it's not just. We either gotta change, like Bernie said, change the law for all downtown, or we gotta enforce the law for all downtown. It's one thing or another.
One or the other.
But I can see your frustration with how do you get product in your store? We don't want to put a business into hardship. We should think about looking at this request, maybe keep an eye on it for a
We
month
should
and
know if we're gonna be getting a new building here in the next couple months. Our lease is due in July. So Not that I want to leave downtown, but
Do what you gotta do.
we're growing too fast.
I've also been coming out of the back alley with a vehicle and the Bud Light truck parked across the alley and just a couple kegs to roll in quick, you know? What do I do? Back up down the hole, you know? But what do you do? I
Yeah,
mean,
there's really not a
You're
lot.
stuck.
it's like complaining because the respirators arrived at the hospital and that back street is blocked off for 5 minutes. I don't know what to do with that, but we should definitely look at the situation for a fellow downtown business. We should think about it for a month here and look at it.
Yeah, I mean, if we could enforce that 2-hour parking. Really,
There was literally a red Ford F-150
I've called
parked
it
for
in.
5 days.
Yeah, and I've called it in, they'll get the ticket on their windshield, they'll take the ticket off their windshield, don't even move the truck.
So hopefully this summer that Miss Duke
Yes.
will be enforcing it.
Yeah, she will. Help her.
Well, it sounds like they're giving tickets and enforcing it. It's just a matter of, you know, if that happens again, talk to the PD and let them know that. I mean,
Yeah.
it might get into a tow situation then at that point. you know, if
Yeah,
it's
I
something
mean,
that's-
I know that if they don't pay that fine, it's like a $10 fine. Within 15 days, they can get their license revoked or suspended, but I don't know if it's gotten to that.
If they don't have one already, they don't really care.
but-
Yeah, that's right, Johnny.
Can we change the ordinance to instead of a fine, we just tow it, then they have to pay for a towing fee? I don't know.
I don't know. Or-
If we get to that point, I think we bring Chief in here just
Yeah.
because they do law enforcement. So I mean, they're gonna
Yeah.
want his input on, you
And
know,
they
the next
have been
steps.
good these past couple of weeks on putting tickets on cars. They're not supposed to chalk anymore, so the officers go around and set a stone on the tire. And that's how they.
Just don't tell them.
Days of it. So, and I have cameras, so I can always, see who's been there.
Since this is just a request, I guess,
Well, I mean, it's a request. So I mean, are you fulfilling the request or are you passing on the request? I guess you need to, I mean, if nobody makes a motion, then you're gonna pass on it. But if you're gonna make a motion, then we would go through, staff would go through the steps of, looking on how we would modify our ordinance to include this in the ordinance, because the only way law enforcement is going to be able to enforce anything is if it's in the ordinance.
Yep.
So if you guys want to proceed with this, you would basically direct us to work on creating an ordinance for this situation.
And really, I think at this point, if we just really enforce that 2-hour parking, I think that would really help. Because you're right. Every business would want one.
Bring shot.
since we don't have a motion, I just, next thing I see is director's report, unless I'm wrong.
Yep, I believe we have some service anniversaries. Jared Gavins, wastewater treatment plant operator. He's completed 7 years on May 30th, so we congratulate him. Just a couple things, Warner Allen, Shawano Street reconstruction projects. They're scheduled to begin on June 7th after school gets out. Substantial completion for the project is going to be in the middle of August, so hopefully well before school gets back in session. So if there's a punch list of things to do, they can get that all done before school gets back in session. But their task was to get all of that done in summer outside the school session. So there's not interfering with that. We have sent letters and sent more information to all the residents. And there's Michelle, 8 property owners
Yep.
on that section that we sent letters to, just notifying them of the process for the replacement of their sanitary sewer lateral if needed. and that assessment process. So those return letters are coming back in. Yeah, so that's on task. And then today, actually, Summers Construction began some of our sidewalk patching program. They're gonna be running around throughout the city, pretty much on the southwest side of the city, working their way north. And in those zones. So that's where we're focusing on this year. That's all I got for a report.
Future agenda items. Next thing then I see is discuss next meeting date. We're pushing it to July 6th.
Yep, the reason for that is July 4th is on a Sunday. So the city staff recognizes or, observes the holiday on Monday. So the offices will be closed on Monday. So if you guys are okay with it, we'll do a back-to-back Public Works, Parks and Rec meeting like tonight. Okay with that.
Okay.
Any concerns? All right, then I guess we start Park and Rec.
Probably if you want to call that to order.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to call the January, right? The June Park and Rec Committee meeting to order. Any changes to the agenda?
Nope.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Public input? That's, you guys are going to be, are you on the dumpster? Is that what yours are here for?
Yes, but I think we would prefer to not say anything until we hear what the council is thinking.
Okay, so you're not going to be on public input then?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Okay, I guess we're going to discuss the possible act on modifications to the downtown centralized dumpsters. Is that going to be Mike's or mine?
It's a joint session, so
Okay.
whoever wants to.
Yes,
Hold on.
you brought it up?
Yep, so I'll take the lead on this. I brought this up at last month's meeting. I hope everyone had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. We had a nice little service down at Taft Park, the veterans in the community. And if you didn't see it, Casey Zempel's got a video on YouTube or in the Facebook. It turned out really nice. But saying that, being a veteran is, we never forget. We don't forget our service. It's a bond, a brotherhood. We remember our fallen, we remember our, missing in action or killed in action and all that. So when the city, when the vets decided to put in a memorial downtown, they chose that location and they put it up, and then from what I can tell, they weren't told that the central dumping station was going to be added. So one day they went to their memorial and see it there, that they were a little upset about it. So they did a petition, they did a protest. This is much bigger than just a dumpster, in my opinion. It's not listening to your constituents. The veterans of the community were very vocal that they didn't want this central dumping station in their park. And I thought it was disrespectful. And I guess as councilmen, we're supposed to be a voice of the people. We're supposed to be listening to our constituents and not, we're a democracy. We're not a monarchy. So I guess originally I was hoping to just go back to having garbage cans behind businesses and remove this monstrosity in the park. But I realize there are people in the community that do not like to see all these garbage cans. I was talking to Mark and he said, well, why is it okay to have a dumpster on one side and not one on the other side? Well, I'm like, because of the waterfront one. Got me thinking the waterfront one's a little bit smaller. It's not right by the river. It's got that nice little fence. So I'm trying to think of other ways that we can go about this and please the veterans and the people that don't like the clutter in the back alley. That dumpster location next to the park is never half full. It's always, every time I dump in there, it's always empty. Have you noticed that too? It's never full.
Yeah, it really.
And it's really hard to get into too. You gotta lift up those big. So I was thinking compromise. Is there a way that we could put a smaller dumpsters next to copper shot, just like we have on the side of waterfront? That way it's not this huge monstrosity. The park will be back to the veterans and still have an area for people to take their garbage, but a little nicer and cleaner.
I want to say one thing right now. That is not the Veterans Park. That is a city park. That is in what used to be city right of way. I mean, just for starters, I hear this referred to as the Veterans Park. What they've put up there is fabulous. I've got my name on there. But that is not the Veterans Park. That is city property.
They, from what I understand, they chose that park to put this beautiful monument. And while they were doing this, the city had the idea of putting the central dumping station, but they never told the veterans that it was going in, and they would have chose a different park in town if they would have known.
I have to disagree with you on that point,
Okay.
because and these guys would test, they looked at a lot of parks where they were going to have the monument. Am I not correct?
Wait, about 11 or 12 sites. Yes.
Right.
Could have chosen from.
Right, and I thought that you took this one because it was the best site position for parking, for people, for site versus being someplace out of the way. That was my understanding, was when they selected this park was because of the location of it. Because it's on the main street, the view of it, the river there and everything. That was my understanding, was that's why I thought they took that site for that park. And one other thing I thought, and maybe I'm mistaken, was when we put the trees up there, that everybody, and they put the strips through the fence, that made everybody happy. I mean, I didn't hear a lot of complaining after that. I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken on that, but I thought when we put the arborvitae trees up there, that's going to hide the fence, plus putting the strips in there that hides the dumpsters. I thought the problem was solved, but maybe I'm not, maybe I'm mistaken. That's my opinion on it. John?
Some of that began before I was on council, but I could take you back to talking about the centralized collection system, which actually was being talked about in the 80s. There's different committees, the CDC, the Can-Do Committee, the Downtown Revitalization Committee, and there was talk about that in a plan for a long time. Furthermore, being the person that covered the selection of the site of the Veterans Memorial, it was going to be across the river over by Karen Gethings, and then some utility things were concerns. In fact, there was utility concerns at this site, which ended up being a beautiful site, but it was subject of numerous front page articles by Scott Lyle, subject of numerous legal publications, what was going on as far as public meetings with the business owners. There was a substantial amount of money, and I think Luke could attest to this. The city actually put a drain that goes to the sanitary sewer, not the storm sewer. So like any waste, there's always somebody that puts oil cans and different things in dumpsters along the whole back alley. Any dumpster left without a sewer, a sanitary, bottom line is that dumpster, that pad, that collection cycle center there is piped right into the sanitary sewer. So any waste or water, because there was concerns, great concerns from our wonderful veterans about the stink, the look of it. There's been no issue with that. The reason that you don't see much garbage in there is because it's dumped twice a week because of those concerns. And I'm kind of with Bob. There hasn't really been an issue brought up to it. You know, and by God, we spent 50-some thousand of taxpayers' money to make that probably the best trash receptacle, or, you know, not to offend anybody because you say the word in the same sentence. But we're human beings and waste is going to be generated no matter where we are. But this is, by God, the safest one, the least polluting one, the most attractive one in the entire city of New London. And I'm not in favor of redoing $55,000 worth of work to put it back the way it was because somebody doesn't like it. I know that but we've been through this pain. We've gotten to this, and there was meetings and there was planning and there was people informed. Whether or not they were awake at the time, I can't help it. But I don't want to, it's going to look worse if we take it down than if we leave it like it is. If there's a problem, now if raccoons start scaling the fence, if people start dumping fish remains in it, like they do all over the rest of town, it's probably the best kept site there is. I don't see spending the money to move it, and it's no disrespect to. In fact, when that was voted to do that, I think over half of the council were veterans, our veterans. And
Forever a council vote.
there is the legal documentation to this about as big as a pedigree on the most champion, anything you want.
My
You know.
understanding that was part of the seawall contract.
Well, first
Or the
of
money
all,
came from that.
the first talks of it were when they were trying to, you know, the seawall cost about $1 million to build, which is private property, by the way. It's just an easement, and property owners didn't want to give the city the easement. So Kent Hager began negotiating the easement for that back in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's probably the first time I heard about the whole talk of that back alley, downtown revitalization, what are you gonna do with the way that looks and everything. And there were a series of meetings that I wasn't on this body of government at the time, but I sat at many meetings and stuff. But it's all on the legal record, you know, you can go back to the 80s, so.
But the project itself was included in the contract for the river wall. It was talked about, you know, as part of that project. So, yeah. So was it voted on specifically? I can't say. I wasn't attending the Public Works meetings at that time, but it was included as part of the overall project for that contract.
That was voted on the 18th.
Yeah, where it finally got through for funding and everything, but it was talked about.
And then specifically the ordinance that was approved prohibiting recycling and grease containers in the back alley, which piggybacked on the centralized dumpster. So there was an ordinance, this ordinance 1354 was enacted, basically saying that everybody had to use downtown or the centralized dumpsters. So that's if there was an action for it, that's probably the action the council had specifically for the dumpsters.
That was.
If I could say something?
Yep.
I think one of the major issues out there, okay, is what happens when the people use it. Number one, some of them have some fairly heavy containers they try to dump in there, and it's pretty high. It's up this high, okay? So they gotta lift that cover up and lift maybe 50 or 70 pounds of garbage, try to dump it into the dumpster, and some of it spills out. And also, just so you know or are aware, that spillage, especially in the winter, is a hazard. Okay, people could get cut on the glass, they could slip on the ice, and that the city would be liable for. So what, it should have been is, get these things down to a reasonable height that people can use them to be able to put the trash in. And the other thing is, just lost my train of thought. So if you got them down a little bit lower, at least people wouldn't get it. The other part of it is the people are abusing. Okay, almost every week they dump something in there, don't put it in the disposal bins. Okay, just last week, just before we had Memorial Day over there, go inside of it. There's like an 8-foot ladder standing in there. Okay, there was a square garbage bin that somebody's garbaging out full of garbage, not put in the dumpster, and there was an air conditioner leak. So the people that are using it are abusing it. That's part of our issue with it. Thank you.
And that's an issue we have
Mayor Mark, and I'd like
rushed
to,
dump all over, wherever we have any disposal sites, is television sets, mattresses. I mean, it's not just that site alone. Any place we've had them, that's an issue. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. Camera on it or something possibly?
One thing that bothers me quite a bit of the abuse of it, and it's getting worse. Everything from small things to broken glass to, at one time, an air conditioner, a door frame, and 2 barrels. Now I talked to the Gratian guy, he happened to be dumping there. He said, you don't touch that stuff. The city has to order a special truck to pick up that type of stuff. I said, okay, I understand. And you mentioned the piping going to the sewer, thing like that. That's how the DNR ever approved that. It's beyond me, because there is no curb stopping any flowing into the river. And that sewer that you're speaking about is not a sewer grate. It's a solid piece of steel that can be removed, but no water flows into that system. And if you don't think so, go look at it. I've been saying that from the day they put it in. I said, they just waste a whole ton of money. Go dump a bucket of water in there, see where it goes. Like the alley's got that lip, that curve.
So there's no,
There is none in, that's a flat piece of cement that goes straight into the river with the only thing is that fencing, which is just wire. But how the DNR ever approved is way beyond, and is slowly getting worse. I know people abuse all of them, but this is a special one. This is a special dumpster put in alongside the vet. I know it's not the Veterans Park, excuse me. I would like to see the park renamed. That's a whole different subject. And when they put the things in the wire, in the thing to try to beautify it, and the things, our protests, our everything was done after that. The community was wild. They hated that thing after that. Then we wanted to let the people speak, the community. We wanted to put it on the agenda. We were hit hard, bam. The only way it can happen, told us by a lawyer, is one of the council members has to put it on, even if it's a non-binding one. We asked for a non-binding one so the council could hear the community speak, and we couldn't do it. When I was going to try to get some council member, if they're concerned with it, get it on the agenda, on the voting thing, and see what the people got to say about it. But we've been hit with, and yes, we had if I would have known today what I know, if I would have known then what I know today, I wouldn't have spent 10 minutes trying to get that park into the condition it is today. And I certainly wouldn't have put my name on there or family members on there. It'd be the last thing I did. That come out of the blue. We woke up one day and boom, it was there. They could have told us, there's going to be a garbage pit here, but nobody said a word about it. And well, just check what I'm saying out there. I went down there the day, Memorial Day yesterday, and they did remove the door frame. They did remove air conditioner. But one of the barrels, they moved, the other one, the big one was tipped over, but the only thing that kept it from spilling was up against the rail, the fence. That was picked back up. And if I'm not mistaken, I haven't been there today, it's probably, I think I'm kidding, it's still, the reason, I don't think they can lift it. I don't know what the hell's in there, but it's heavy, you know, and when I go in, I'm careful not to touch anything. Why? Because they think I'm gonna try to present something that's not there. I don't. I just look at, take pictures, you know, of the cigarette butts, the broken beer bottles, this and that. And I tell everybody when I tell my story, don't get me wrong, it's not that deep, but it is slowly increasing. And once again, I'll repeat myself. How did DNR ever approve that? I will never know. That's my statement on, and that I refer to it as a garbage pit.
The main thing of it is.
Bob, can I have the floor for a second?
Proud of what we have done.
And I don't think it'd
I'm
beautify
proud
anything.
I'm proud of our veterans, and because there's no place else to go. Any of it.
It's probably a very.
You know what? It's
select
unfair
few
for you
that
to
are
even
doing
ask me that.
Sure it is.
It's.
But
there's
that's
trash
the point.
living
That's the
above
whole point.
Some of these buildings down there that have to fill it
But
with.
the design as it is, the people cannot really use it for what they intended.
They tried to lock it.
All right.
You know, that didn't
There's
work.
no way in heck I could lift a 30-pound thing and get it up there, trying to open
containers
that
were
door, dump it in without losing the container I had.
In all honesty, I walked around my district when I was up for election. I never heard one person talk about disrespecting with a dumpster down there. And I talked to a number of people about it. I never had anyone tell me that they thought that was disrespecting veterans. And I'm a veteran myself, and I do not consider that dumpster as disrespecting.
You're entitled.
Right? I know everybody is.
After we
Bob.
protest, okay? We collected almost 3,000 signatures. Okay? And those were all turned over to the council right here in this meeting, in this room. So they're available. I would assume they're available, or maybe they were just trashed. I don't know. But they were all turned right over to council. And if you go in and read them, you'll see a lot of things you're saying aren't there.
Bob Beesaw. This is Mayor Martin.
Brad Mark.
For a second. So a gentleman in the back today has pictures. Do you have pictures today on you?
What?
You have pictures.
Yes,
You have the pictures today on you, yes.
today.
Yes,
Probably
sir.
has some in his phone.
Where's, oh my God.
Can you, if you do, can you
The mayor.
send them to the mayor?
Yes, let me,
I'd like to see them.
I'm new on my phone here, so I.
And listening to everybody's conversation here, I'm hearing a lot of back and forth. I was ready to listen to the situation about this dumpster, and I understand people's concerns and whatnot. But then not too long ago, I think it was just last month, we sat in a meeting and not one person had one thing to say about another dumpster that was approved. And that dumpster is a lot closer to this memorial than what the other one is by footage. Now, the second part I'm hearing about this, that the dumpster is too big. Well, we can request a smaller dumpster to put in there so people can empty their trash easier in the dumpster. You brought up glass and all that kind of stuff. The other dumpster has glass and all that kind of stuff in it.
This is the best.
The only difference is I'm hearing that that you guys would like a privacy fence put up,
Right.
to make it look like the other one. That's the only difference. The bigger one is set up so there's less smell. It's dumped twice a week. It's got drainage, which none of the smaller dumpster next door has. So I'm not really understanding what this is besides a personal vendetta against the dumpsters that was placed there that you guys feel that you were wronged by. And you guys feel that you're wronged by because nobody told you. However, there's several steps that have to go on public notification to have this done, as the council members have told you, namely John Pache. we're trying to work with you. We're trying to work with the memorial. We're trying to make this look decent. It maybe wasn't the best practice or the best way that it was went about, but it's there and we're trying to work together with everybody. And as far as I've been in office in the last year, I have not had one complaint until this was brought up on this agenda. And I listen, I get out there and I talk to people and I ask questions. That's all I have to say for right now. Thank you.
Chad, is there any way we could put a camera up down there to see what's going on with the?
There's one camera on the overall park and it just catches the dumpsters in the corner, but it's not close enough really to get a face. So one thing we talked about, because we did get money approved in the last capital projects to put cameras in parks, more cameras up. And we would look at putting, a camera there and probably a camera at the other one, just to help monitor that more. Because I mean, everybody's right. I mean, we have problems with dumpsters in all the city parks. I mean, whether it's Hatton, whether it's Memorial, people are dumping things illegally in all the city parks. So, it's just a progression that we would start looking at that even further. And then just to clarify a point that Mr. Masonic made up, the sanitary sewer pipe, he is correct. It is sealed shut. It's not designed to take rainwater and everything all the time. It's designed to remove. And then if staff had to clean it, then it would go into the sanitary sewer. So we don't want rainwater going into the sanitary sewer system on a regular basis. That's I&I. That's why it's capped off, so it does not allow rainwater to go in. It's only allowed if we remove it, then the guys can clean it, like over by grease containers, then they can clean it and that goes into the sanitary system when we want it to go in the sanitary system. So he's correct. I mean, it's sealed shut that you're not going to let rainwater in there, but it's designed that way.
I just got a comment about accountability seems to be a real issue. Would there be a way, instead of dumpsters, having our garbage cans, those nice green and blue garbage cans, and we just keep them in that spot so that each business is accountable and have their name on it? What's
You'll
that?
have the same thing,
If you had a,
because they'll fill them up and they'll overfill them. You'll have a worse mess than you got right
It'll
now.
be worse than mess.
or I know they have locking dumpsters. If we could have a couple different dumpsters, I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here as far as accountability for who's,
There'll still be people abuse them. Bernie's right. Be overflowing and
but if you had
Garbage
all the
all over.
garbage behind every business, then you would know who's doing it because it would be that business. There's accountability
you
with
see that
that.
some houses, residential area, even that.
What do you guys think? We're gonna put some cameras up there and try to do something there?
Well, we already have a camera up that covers the whole park that our organization paid for.
Have you got any pictures of guys?
So that goes directly to the police station and they have the records in it.
Okay, so they should have pictures of these guys that are dumping the stuff in the dumpster then, huh?
Like I said, Bob, it's a pretty wide shot because it covers the whole park. So to kind of see a
That's the same
face,
camera you're talking
yeah,
about.
the
Okay.
face would be very hard to see.
You want
And it's one corner
a
of it. as
direct
well.
one right in the dumpster so you could make out a face.
Yeah, we would have to get
Oh, it
one
is.
really close to accommodate that.
But either way, any way you look at it, if there's spillage, liquid, but that sewer not operating as a sewer, it goes into the river. Any way you look at it, I mean, that should be a separate issue all by itself, the contaminating of the Rolfe River.
But that's true of the whole alley too.
No, the alley's got a curb. I know they got spaces. I know it's not perfect, but this was built and how, that should have been approved by the DNR. That's my question. How did that ever get built without, this is a new project. How did it ever got approved? I can't believe it ever was approved. And if we have to bring a DNR in to say this is okay, I would love to be there and have somebody from the DNR say, boy, this is really hunky-dory.
Part of the funds for that project came from the DNR as a grant. And it was all done up with engineering specs and everything. And no matter what I say, I'm not going to be right and I'm going to be against veterans. So, Mr. Chairman, I call the question on this. We've been through this. It got unfortunately brought up, and I think we should consider everything from time to time, but unfortunately, it's been brought up and now it's going to be a divisive issue in our city again. I'm ready to just roll over no matter what. I call the question and I'm not against veterans. I'm sorry. I just think that to undo something that costs taxpayers $56,000 is just, it hasn't been that big of an issue. We can watch it closer. I'm sorry. Boycott me, whatever you want to do. I'm sorry, but I call the question. We have other things on the agenda. If anybody disagrees with me, I'm sorry. Call the question.
So we looked at, discussed and possible action on modifications to the dumpsters. We got anybody that's, any ideas for modifications?
Calling the question means we're going to stop
discussion.
arguing about,
You can end the discussion.
What they put it as,
I think everybody said everything that they need to say.
it's not answered, the councilman put it on the voting as a referendum. Would that be done to at least before you do that, so you know, and you could have a referendum saying it's gonna cost 56, undo 56, whatever, $1,000, have it spelled out, and then let the city speak for it. If they say, hell no, leave it, then you guys are, you know, you're okay. But, you know, I think that'd be the least you could do. And then you'd have it in front of you. Right now, you got special, certain individual feelings or thing, but this way you'd have the city speak. That's what I'd like to see.
Discussion's ended.
Gentlemen, I'm at this dumpster right now.
Okay.
You give me 2 seconds. I will stop and put it on video and you guys can speak for yourself.
Not the mayor.
Ooh, he's getting great.
That's
I heard
scary.
that.
You look nice today.
We hear you.
All right, let me turn this around. Well, this is what we have.
One barrel is exactly what it said.
Covers
Try to
about-
lift that. Try to lift that barrel.
Is that visible from outside the fence though, my good sir?
That's it. I'll open up the fence.
You can see part of it through the gate that
Okay.
opens up for them to remove it.
Did it kind of ruin everything yesterday? Did it make anybody feel less
Me.
valuable?
Me.
Okay.
There's no smells. I opened up the other one. There was no smells.
Red Solo Cup.
Wait till this weekend when it's 90 degrees out.
I'm just making a report right here, right now.
That barrel has been sitting there, that exact barrel for at least a month. Just try to lift it. I think that's the problem. They can't get it out of there. It was on its side. That's why you're not seeing any smell or odor.
I'm visually in front of it now and I can't see it. I don't know if you guys can.
You walk in front of the gate that the collectors use to open up, you can see it right through the cracks in the gate.
Yeah.
The side closest to the street.
Yeah, that's where I was. I've walked all the way around except for directly behind it.
All right, Mayor, do you think on a regular basis, if you had to take your trash out to that system right there, would you be able to do it? Or would your wife be able to do it?
That's an unfair question.
Maybe it is.
I expect more out of my wife than that, to be honest with you. I expect more out of myself than that, to be honest with you. So that's why I said that is unfair. We're talking about the general public.
I'm just saying, would you be physically capable of doing it?
again, that's a biased question of an individual that I can't answer. I expect more out of that. As far as what the general public does, I can't speak for them. To be honest with you, I mean, that's to answer your question fairly. You guys want to see the other one from here? Or?
I think you didn't answer the question. I think you avoided it.
You want me to answer the question? I know I can empty that. I know I can throw it in there, and I would expect my wife to do it, and I'd expect all my kids to do it. Every last one of them that served this country would have that in the dumpster.
Can you answer me why that barrel isn't taken out of there? That's been there for a month. There was at one time 2 barrels. That one plus another one, a door frame, an air conditioner, and some broken stuff. That's been taken care of. But why is that one barrel still there? Go over in there and try to lift it.
That I cannot explain. Today is day one that I know that it's there, and we can assess that situation from there.
Last time it was on its side. And the only thing,
Okay, I believe you.
the only thing that stopped the garbage coming out of that barrel was it was shoved up against the fence. Next time, it might be shoved towards the river. And if there's
Call the
liquid in there,
question.
I don't know what's all in there. If there is, it's in the river. And that's just, and it's continually getting worse.
Unless Mr. Chairman, someone has a motion to make other than, I would prefer to call the question on this topic for now.
Right away. Not even-
Is this my part of the meeting or is Mike supposed to be?
One of you guys call the question. It's a joint meeting, so if there's a motion to be made, either one of you guys can call it.
Got any motion?
I will do that. Second.
Well, no, to call the question, you don't need
You
to
don't need
don't
to
need
make
a
a
second. We
motion.
don't need a
It just means we've heard most of everything's been kind of repeated twice. So that means at this point, if any member of either committee would like to make a motion one way or the other to take any kind of action, or whether it's just put on a radar board at this time, since the question's called, according to Robert's rules, I think that there would be a motion by someone at this point.
It can either be from Park and Rec or from Public Works.
Well, there's other things on the agenda.
So if
that-
somebody got them, they want to make a motion on this?
Can we just see if Grayson's got shorter dumpsters to solve the problem so people can get stuff in there?
See what? Say that?
Shorter dumpsters,
Oh,
where people can get their trash in and you won't have the stuff laying on the outside.
into that, Chad?
I can ask.
That
Absolutely.
should solve the problem.
Yeah, we can look
Problem
into
is,
that.
They can't lift it up that high to get them in, so they're leaving it sit outside.
Okay.
I can ask.
Yeah, okay. We don't need it. We don't need any motion for anything for like that. That's just a action item.
Direct staff
Yeah,
to,
just action item.
Move on.
So I guess that's up to you, Mike. You want to
I'm
adjourn?
ready to adjourn.
Huh?
I'm ready to adjourn.
And there's no,
There's no motion.
No,
or
there was
nothing.
nobody made a motion for the action?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Mike wants. to.
Oh,
for Public Works, yeah.
Oh, we work, yeah.
Well, we've got to settle this and then we can adjourn.
we got no motion.
So it's dropped. So then you can make a motion to adjourn.
So it goes back to you then, Mike.
For Public Works will adjourn. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn Public Works. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Michelle, did you get the motion?
Public Works is adjourned.
Who made the motion
5:33.
to adjourn for Public Works?
Mike.
It was
Fred,
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 Fred did the
Dennis
motion. Who made the
seconded.
second then?
Dennis.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so at this
We're
point in
still-
time, Public Works is adjourned, and now we're going to continue with the Parks and Rec.
back in for sculpture art at the River Trail Park.
And I don't think Tony, I never heard back from Tony going into tonight's meeting, so I sent her an email and asked her, but she didn't get back to me, so I'm assuming
So we got nothing on the sculptures then.
there's
huh?
nothing at this point in time.
This summer, yeah.
Vectors report.
This month, We have quite a few Parks and Rec employees. Mike Buckman, Parks caretaker, completed 10 years of service on May 4th. Ted Christian, 6 years, facility superintendent on May 11th. Carl Denauer, part-time Parks caretaker / mower, 3 years, May 14th. Dawn Reinhardt, one of our custodians, 8 years on May 21st. And Jim Thorpe, facilities technician, completed 19 years of service on May 30th. Jim started down at our pool. That's why he's got so many years of experience with the city, but seems like May must be a hot month for us to be hiring a lot of Park and Rec employees in the past.
Already started all as part-time people.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. Exactly.
Chairman's report, I have nothing. Anybody on the committee got anything? Future agenda items.
We still got that mountain bike park on there. What I'm waiting for is for Outagamie County Parks to finish up their open space and recreation plan, or their comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. And I would plan on inviting Lauren, the Outagamie County Parks Director, to give us some input of what his comp plan came up with, which, you know, may or may not include something with bike park. So we're gonna wait until they finish up their comp plan, and then we'll invite Lauren to come give us a report on that.
And then we already talked about the joint meeting next July 6th. Public Works, Park and
If it's
Rec.
okay with everybody, we'll do Public Works first again at 4:30, and then Parks and Rec following right after that.
Sounds good.
Nothing else. I guess we're looking to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Right.
Ready, John?
Adjourn. Opposed? Adjourn.